Hi. Hello, good afternoon. I think we're live. Great, I'm live. So good afternoon, everyone. This is Mary Beth. Sorry, I had a bit of network resistance. Okay, this is about 5 minutes late. Sorry about that. We had a little network resistance just before I was about to start, so I had to switch networks immediately. All right, so good afternoon. If you're here, please let me know that you are here. Okay, I said I was going to invite some people or send them direct. Let's see if I can tag a few people before we start. All right, my name is Mary Beth Chima. I am the convener. All right, I am the convener and the founder of the group Parenting Through Mentorship. And today we said we are going to be, hi Becky. All right, great. So today we said we want to talk about what we need to do right away. So what we need to do immediately to get our children to start appreciating reading for leisure. All right, so if you are here, kindly say something. Hi, hello Becky. All right, let us know you are here. Hi. Oh, Lily, how are you? Good afternoon, dear. It's good to see you. Long time. Yes, long time. All right, so if you are here, if you have a friend who is not here, please tag them so that they can join us. All right. The group is a private group now, so it's not very easy to share out of the group. Okay, but you can tag your friends so they can join us. I promised a few people that I was going to send them a private invite. So let me see if I can do that right away. Send them a private invite so that they can join us. All right, let's see. Let me just take a minute to do that. What's going on? Okay, so if you're here, so we're talking about how we can get our children, what we need to do right away to get our children to start loving reading for leisure. Okay, I was hoping I could tag these people, but my system is giving me a no. Okay, I'll have to tag them afterwards. I'll have to send this. All right, so great. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Okay, I am sure we have heard this. We're just going to jump right into it. Okay, today is Thursday, and we usually have these meetings at 2 o'clock every Thursday. We call it the PTM Hangouts, where we come and we pick specific topics, talk about them, so parents can ask the questions that they have around that topic. So we do this at 2 every Thursday. For some reason we had to shift it, okay, to 3 o'clock. Sorry for the inconvenience that must have cost any of us, okay, but we had to shift it to 3 today, but it's usually at 2. All right, now we're looking straight into what we're talking about today. Okay, so now as a parent, your first responsibility is that of a teacher. Or being a teacher is one of the biggest responsibility that you have as a parent, because your children are going to depend on you to teach them how to navigate the world around them. So that makes you a teacher, whether you like it or not. Okay, and recently I have heard people, not recently even, I've had conversations with people, and you hear things like, I can't make my child read, I can't make my child study, I can't teach my child because I am not a teacher. People who are close to me, who know that I have some level of education background, will actually say to me, oh, it's easy for you because you're a teacher. Hey, Tonya, it's good to have you. Hi, Loretta, it's good to have you here. So people will say, oh, you can teach because you have an education background. But that's not exactly true. Okay, for those who know me, they know that I have not even been in the education sector for that long. I started off as an administrator, a banker, and all of that. And I had my first, even in those years before I became a teacher. And taught him. I actually taught him even before I became a teacher. So that is actually a negative. It's actually a limiting belief. And I want you to look at that limiting belief and see how you can replace that limiting belief. Because saying you cannot help your child, okay, be it academically or in other aspects of their lives because you're not a teacher is wrong. It's wrong. So you need to go back and change that belief. When you change that belief, write another empowering belief around this subject, and you will find that as you continue to affirm it to yourself, you will think differently about the fact that you cannot teach your child simply because you are a teacher. So we are called to be teachers and mentors to our children. So this invariably means that you should be at the forefront. Okay, you should be at the forefront of your child's education. You should be the one who teaches your child a lot of the things that your child knows. Okay, you should be the one who actually approve, right? You should approve the knowledge, the kind of knowledge that your child accesses. So if you are not informed, or if you are not even looking at yourself as someone that is able, how are you able to tell if what his teachers or the people in his school are teaching him are the kind of things that your child should be learning? So as much as we send our children to school, as much as we get other people to tutor them, we need to bring ourselves to a position where we see ourselves as the number one teachers in their lives, and we see ourselves as the ones who censor and approve the content of our children's knowledge, or the content of what is accessible by our children. Okay, we need to be the ones who actually approve these things. And how do we do that? We do that by knowing. We do that by getting knowledge. We do that by knowing what it is that our children are learning per time and having some level of understanding, or having the basics of what it is that our children are learning, so we are able to monitor what it is that they are learning. Okay, apart from being a teacher, apart from being able to monitor what they do academically, we are also called to be teachers of life skills to our children. So we're the ones that are going to teach our children life skills. We're the ones that are going to teach them habits, right? We're the ones that are going to teach them habits that are acceptable. So we need to train the habits of our children. And reading is one of these habits. Training our children to be people who love to read and be people who appreciate reading for leisure is actually one of the skills that every parent should actually teach their child or teach their children. Really great. Now you want to ask, why is it important? I mean, is it not enough that they read what it is that they have in school? Some people will say, I don't like to read, but look at me, I am not doing badly. Now, that is also a limiting belief. Your child doesn't have to be you. Your child doesn't have to be you, one. And I say this many times, and I say it today. The stage where we were nurtured, all right? How we were groomed, how things were when we were growing up is different from what it is that these children are exposed to today. So it is an era where knowledge is very, very important. It is an era where godfatherism would probably not be effective. For people who have moved to other climes, right? For people who have moved to other climes where things work the way they are supposed to work, they already know that this whole idea of who you know and what your father is and the position that your father bears doesn't work out there, really. And our children, even in Nigeria and in the third world where these things work, we're gradually walking towards a period or an era where the content that you come with, what you bear, how knowledgeable you are as a person is what will set you apart, as opposed to who your father is, where you've been, or who you've been with. That's the truth about it. So why is it important that our children learn to read for leisure? Okay, so reading is actually an active process. It's an active process. So when children read, they get stimulated. Their brain is stimulated, and they're able to grow neural pathways in their brain in the areas in which they are studying or in the areas in which they are learning. So your child picks up a book and your child is reading about cars. So what happens is the child is able to create, the brain is able to create neural pathways are created in the child's brain around that knowledge. And if this is a knowledge that your child gets interested in and the child consistently reads in, you will find that the child will gain in-depth knowledge in this area. But you can't get children to gain in-depth knowledge in areas like this if they don't love reading. So I say to you today, if children learn to read for leisure, then you are able to teach them anything at all. So if you bring your child to the point where your child begins to love and enjoy reading, it means that you are able to teach your child anything in any area. It means that if your child has an area of interest, your child is able to broaden and make his knowledge in that area deeper. Why is this? Because the child enjoys reading and will continue to read materials around that area. And when you read, you gain knowledge. That's the truth about it. When you read, you gain knowledge. Centuries before now, people gain knowledge through reading. It is still the case right now. You still gain knowledge by reading. You still gain knowledge by the things that you focus on and the thing that you read and the things that you practice. So reading is a very, very, very important skill when it comes to gaining knowledge. Okay, now reading is also a language skill that is essential for communication. Truth is, people who read are great communicators, or they are better communicators. That's the truth about it. Go and check the best of the orators and people who are great communicators. If you check, you will find that these are people who actually read. Okay, people who read have a huge repertoire of vocabulary. Their vocabulary repertoire is really very huge. So if your child begins to read right now, you will find that the child will build a huge vocabulary store. Okay, your child will build a huge vocabulary store. And children who read, people who read, have the tendency to spell very well. The child will spell very well. The child will have a huge store of vocabulary, and then the child will be a good writer. People who read are usually good writers. So I'm just giving you some reason why your child should read, or why you should encourage your child to read. Okay. All right, and they actually develop better attitude toward lifelong learning. When your child loves to read, right? When your child loves to read, when people love to read, what you find out that these people are not adverse to reading. So even when they go to school, let's say your little child at 4 loves to read, and then you continue to develop this skill in the child, right? And then the child builds this habit. Habits are built or are created by the patterns that we have in place. So if you create a good pattern where your child constantly reads, you're either reading aloud or the child is reading by themselves, you're sharing materials, okay, you're talking about the things you're reading. It doesn't have to be one particular way that you do this, okay? As you continue to do this, you create a pattern where the child is actually invested, or the child is consumed by this love for reading, right? The child becomes consumed by the love for reading. When this happens, you will find out that your child begins to develop a good attitude towards learning. When this child becomes older, say the child is in JSS 3 or SS1, it won't be difficult to tell your child to go study. It won't be difficult for your child to go do researches in certain areas, because hey, the child doesn't even have a problem with reading. So what are you doing when you teach your children, or you encourage your children to enjoy reading for leisure? You will find that the child is able to pick a material at any point and read. So you won't be one of those parents chasing your children up and down to read their book. I have been a teacher for a couple of years, and I have not met that child yet who loves to read and doesn't do well in school. Chances are when your children love to read, I mean love to read, when they enjoy reading, most of the kids that I have taught, my experiences with children in the classroom, the children who are like the high flyers, the one who are the top of their class, are usually the ones that you find picking books to read. They're the ones that at break time, everyone goes out and they're sitting down there actually binging on a book, binging on a storybook or some article or some book around a particular area. Okay, so I am yet to find that person who loves to read and doesn't do well in school amongst children, basically. So yes, if you encourage your child to love and enjoy reading today, you are going to build a lifelong learner, someone who is always excited, ready, and willing to learn. And that is what we want as parents. We want children who understand that learning is a lifelong thing and they are open and exposed, right? And willing to keep learning. All right? So these are some of the reasons. And then, yes, another thing is people who read are usually vast in the range of knowledge that they have. Okay, they have knowledge across various areas, right? And usually people like these they actually have good social skills. Right? They actually end up having good social skills because you find them in gatherings and they can have conversations around varying subject areas, okay? Basically, so people like these can actually build good social relationships because they are actually people who love to read. So you are in a gathering and you're talking about the mummies in Egypt, and you have something to say about it because you have read a book that actually was on this subject. They're talking about something that is happening in Africa, and you're able to dive into it because you have read something around the subject. Okay, so basically, when you encourage children to read, you are encouraging them to build social skills. All right. Okay. Recently, I saw a post, right? I saw a post by ZOB. And she actually, it was actually a beautiful post. I had to share it to the group. I don't know how many of you saw it, right? She said in that post that many can read but don't love to read. That many can read but cannot apply what it is that they read. Many can read but they cannot retain what it is that they read. Many can read but they cannot analyze what they read. And this is what we have around us. That's the truth. We all go to school and we learn. We learn phonics and then phonemes and all of that, and we can put words together and we can read. We can actually read. But come down to, do we understand what we read? Do you understand what we read? Can we analyze what it is we read? That's why you find you will buy an appliance and it has someone will buy an appliance and right there is how you can use it. Yet the person is struggling. The person is struggling, or the person is calling other people to help them know how to use the thing that you have before you, and you have the manual right there. That all you need to do is read the manual and understand what you're supposed to do. Yet you find people who actually read those manuals and still don't know what to do. It boils down to the fact that when people don't love to read, people who don't love to read, right? Who have not learned to read over the years, right? And people who, just as Z said, the people who can read but cannot comprehend what it is that they read. And we have this kind of people a lot. A lot of us are like that. We can actually read, we drop the book and we don't know what it is that we have just read. Because we don't love to read. We just know how to read. Now, this is what we don't want for our children. We want our children to read. We want our children to enjoy reading. We want our children to love reading. And we want our children to read for pleasure. So that they're always ready and willing to read. And as you do this over the years, you would grow in your comprehension. You will grow in your and the rest. So don't think that because the child likes to read novels and likes to read materials and articles on other things, it means that they will not do well in their schoolwork. So why in their schoolwork? Okay, when I talk about the other day I said to someone, oh, that there's a spelling bee competition and all that, would you like to enter your child for it? And she actually said to me that, oh, okay, I would have loved to, but he's resuming school. In my head it was like something to, what do you mean he's resuming school? What is school and what is this? Because we are focused on academics. So even when children pick book to read, we are like, drop that book, go and read your book. So which one is book and which one is not book? Okay, what I'm saying is this whole thing, when you are actually nurturing a holistic child, you will not make it seem like reading one thing is different from reading another. What you will do is you will put structures in place. You put structures in place that will help your child understand that there is time for everything. We will come back to structures. All right, so these are some of the reasons why we need to get our children reading. Please, we need to get our children loving to read. We need to get our children to be people for pleasure. Now, why are your children not reading? Why is my child not reading? Why is your child not reading? That's where it begins. That's the question you should ask yourself first. Okay, there are some of us who have kids who are preteens. Some of us have kids who are teenagers and they don't like to read. Right? Don't worry. There is never, there is no perfect time. There is really no perfect time. It would be great that you are able to start the reading culture early in your child. Awesome. It would be awesome that you're able to do that. It would be awesome that from day one you had structures on ground that will help your children love to read. It will be great. But if that didn't happen, it's okay. Even if your child is a preteen or your child is a teenager or whatever stage it is that your child is, it is okay. We can still get to read. So the first thing you want to ask, why is it that your child is not reading? You want to start looking at that. Have a conversation with that child if the child can talk. Okay, now we're talking about, of course, the child should be able to talk for you to say he doesn't love to read, because at 1 and at 2, okay, whether the child reads, it's up to you, isn't it? If you're a parent who was introduced to reading, if you're a parent who loves to read aloud to your child, if you're a parent that builds that, you create that habit at home where you read for your child, every little child loves it when you read to them. That's the truth. But sometimes our expectations are too high. We expect them to sit in one place because we're reading. It's okay. Whether they're running around or jumping around, it's okay. Just read to the child and make fun of it and laugh, and then use all the different tones where you're reading. The child might be playing, but the child is listening, and what you're doing is you're actually creating awareness, right? You're creating awareness. You're being consistent. You're creating awareness. You're being consistent, right? You are developing that habit, right? And you're training that habit. So whether the child is dumping around, the child is listening to you. With time, you will find that that same child will actually sit down when you pick a book and is excited, would actually sit down with you and you can read to the child. Now we're talking about your older kids, why they are not reading. So you want to have a conversation with your child and find out why the child is not reading. Ask them that question directly. Why don't you love to read? Why wouldn't you just pick a book and read away? Let them tell you why. Okay, let the child tell you why. Now, you want to find out in that conversation, you want to watch out. Let the child talk to you. But you want to actually prompt, right? You want to use prompts and open-ended question to actually give the child the right words if it's a child that probably doesn't know how to express how he feels about reading. Okay, the things you're looking out for is, one, you want to find out if your child has some sort of an impediment that is actually stopping the child from reading. Sometimes children have visual impediments. They have one thing or the other, right? Or some problem, right? That is actually hindering them from reading. It could be that the letters are jumping. It could just be something that is actually a medical issue and you don't know this. And because the child probably doesn't think of it as a problem, he's not saying anything to you. But every time he picks the book, it doesn't just make sense. It gives him a headache. It troubles him. So because of that, he's actually adverse to reading. He doesn't want to see books. So until you can ask questions, or until you make this conversation something that is important, right? Until you're intentional about this conversation, the child will probably not be able to say to you, this is the problem. And when you have these conversations, I don't mean you say, come and sit down. Then you sit down very well and then tell the child, sit down. I want to talk to you today about something. Tell me, why don't you? No, you don't have to do that. It could be while you're driving, right? You're driving and then you start up a conversation. Hey, sweetie, I don't know. Mommy loves to read. Daddy reads too. I wonder, why don't you like to read? Okay? Why don't you like to read? There's something you need to tell me and all that. You can have those kind of conversation while you are driving. You can have it while you're cooking in the kitchen. You can have it when you're doing something light together. Nothing serious. Not anything that would entail you having eye contact. So that the child is to speak to you about how he feels, okay, about these things, okay? And as I said, you can actually nudge them here, and use prompts. How could it be that, when you look at the book, do you have a problem with, the letters in the book and all that? Oh, use story. A friend, when I was in school, actually had this friend. She just never wanted to read. And the teachers were always angry with her, and we just thought she never wanted to read. Until one day, another of our friends came to class and said she had to, she wears glasses because she couldn't read very well. The letters were always jumping and all of that, and she told her mother about it. What you're doing to the child, you're telling the child that, something, I know that there are people who could have, challenges and all of that. So that way, if the child has never thought of it as a problem, or if the child has never thought of it as something that he could have a conversation about, you will go like, oh, okay, that's true, mommy. That's how I see. That's what happens to me too, or something like that. So that's where you're able to find out if there is actually an impediment that is actually stopping the child from loving or wanting to read. All right. So if you're here with me and you're getting value, please let me know, okay, if this is resonating, right? Now, the other thing you want to do is you want to check, right, the level of your child's phonemic awareness. You want to check that reading is actually not the problem, right? You want to check that reading is actually not the problem. So the inability to identify and manipulate individual sounds, right? Okay, to manipulate individual sounds, put them together to create a word, okay, and be able to identify each of these single sounds in a word, okay, and create syllables and words out of them could be difficult for some children. This could be difficult for some children. And so when children struggled with reading during their foundation, children who struggled with during their foundation would probably not really love to read. Okay, so for a child who probably struggled with reading up to when they were 5, 6, and 7, chances are that child will not just pick a book and want to read, because for that child, reading is a task. For that child, reading is stressful. So the child is not enjoying reading. So now, for those of us who have younger children, right? For those of us who have children at this stage, you want to make sure that the foundation for reading, right? The foundation for reading, I'm talking of when your child is learning to read, before the child even becomes learned. The point where the child is learning phonics and trying to know sounds, decode sounds, and all of that, right? At that point, you don't want to take it lightly. You want to make sure you do everything for that phase in your child's life for you to get it right at that stage. You want to try everything. You want to create, provide, when the child learns in school, you want to help provide reinforcement, support your child. Just make sure that your child gets it right at this stage, because when they don't get it right at this stage, it actually could affect whether they end up loving to read at all. Because if they don't get it right at the stage where they're supposed to get it right, you find that they are struggling afterwards. So by the time your child is 6 and 7 and he cannot read yet, and his classmates, for those of them who go to school, his classmates are reading properly and all of that, what happens is the child begins to struggle. The child begins to see himself as different, as the one who is not meeting up right with expectations. And because of that, that could actually cause the child to withdraw. When the child withdraws, it's not likely that that child will be excited about picking up a book. So you want to check that this is not the issue with your child. I'm going to talk about just 3 of them, right? Okay, now the other thing is, as I just said, when the child has struggled or is struggling or feels that he is behind his mates and all of that, what happens? The child actually now begins to have a case of low self-esteem, especially in the area of reading. So what you get is, when you tell that child to read, the child begins to act up. The child begins to act up. The child begins to tell you things like, I don't like to read, I don't like storybooks and all of that. No, it is not the storybook that is the issue. The child actually doesn't believe in his ability to read, and because of that, the child will become defensive to read. And that's how it goes. That's how it goes. And even at the point where the child now catches up, okay, let's say at 8 and 9, the child can now read and everything, the interest may not be there anymore. And most times, the foundation is where it started from. Okay, so you want to check that your child does not have any impediments. Okay, you want to check that your child's phonemic awareness is not the problem. You also want to check that your child does not have poor esteem, okay, that is causing him not to want to read, probably because he's been shamed in the past, or he's been laughed at. He's been laughed at, he's been shamed, he doesn't feel like he can do it, he doesn't feel like he's enough in this area. So you want to check all of these and make sure that it is not the issue. Now, if you find out that any of these could be the issue, then hey, super mama, super papa, that is where you come in to support your child. So if it is an impediment, if it is a medical thing, then you need to go to your child. You need to see a specialist with your child to get that out of the way. And while you're doing that, you want to keep encouraging the child. Oh my God, this is it. You should have told me a long time ago. This is nothing. We would have gotten this out of the way, and you'll be enjoying reading like every other person. And all of that. If you find out that it has something to do with their skill, right? Their awareness, phonemic awareness here. Sorry, my daughter. Yes. Yes. All right, sorry about that. All right, so good. So if you find that, then you want to step in and help them build that esteem again. You want to tell them it's okay. Not everybody will read at 2. Not everybody will read at 3. But hey, we are here and you have me. I'm here. I would support you. It's nothing. Hey, words are created by sounds. Just put the sounds together and the world will come alive. Let's do it together. If you have to get manipulative, if you have to get, if you have to do it all over again, do it all over again. Help your child gain confidence, okay? If the child already reads and then you say to them, oh, it's fine, that was in the past, we're here right now, we can read, and then you start the process, okay? You start the process early, you start the process from the beginning to help the child cultivate the habit of reading. All right, so now let's go to what you need to do right away to get your child, to encourage your child to start reading. Now that we have dealt with what the problems could be, okay, now that we already see why it is important for them to read, now let's see what we can do for our kids who do not love reading to start reading already. Number 1 is structure. Number 1 is structure. I say this today as I've said it many times. In parenting, if you don't get the structures in your home, if you don't get the structures in your home right, nothing would happen. All the knowledge you have gained, all that you know, all that you have heard, you will not, even if you try to apply them, they will not be effective, and they will not be effective, and you will not be able to step these things to your children if there isn't the structure in your home to help it happen. Okay, so you must build structures in your home that creates the chance for your children, okay, that creates the time for your children to read. You must build structures in your home that encourage reading. You must build structures in your home that invite your children to read. You must build structures in your home where your children can actually be motivated and mentored into for leisure. Okay, I actually have a session every Saturday at 7 p.m. where we actually teach parents how to build structures in their home. In that session, all we do is, when I'm talking about structures now, I am talking about the routines that you have in your home, the plans that you have in your home, the schedules that you have in your home, the yearly plan that you have created, your family set of values, the values that you have in your family, what it covers, and how your children perceive this, and how you're able to step this to your children so that they begin to honor these things. Now, when you have these structures in place, it determines how your house is, or how your household is being run. It determines what policies are on ground, okay, what policies are on ground in your home, what is acceptable. And so even when new people come into your home, there is a standing order, there is a policy that is acceptable, and you see, they actually just roll with it because it was pre-planned and it's been established. And your children grow knowing this structure, and they live by this structure. When we say structure, it doesn't mean that it stops people from being free. What it means is there are boundaries and there is orderliness. For people who have been out of this country, you will find out that when you go to the West and to some other places, you find out things work in this place. Why do you think that things work in these places? These work in these places because they have structures in place. It's not because the people it's not necessarily because the people are more educated. It's not necessarily because the people are warmer or kinder or are more religious. No, it is because there are structures in place. It is those structures in place that makes you and I, when we travel, let's say we get to Heathrow. As we get to Heathrow, we get there, we get off the plane, and then we walk straight in a file, and we stay right on the queue. No argument, no fighting for space, nothing, and we wait for our turns. Yet the same group of people will travel back, and then we will get to Lagos airport and there's chaos. Because what? The structures in place are not effective. So it is the same thing with our homes. When we have structures that are effective in our homes, we'll find out that there are boundaries. We'll find out that our children will grow up to know boundaries. Our children will grow up to know lawfulness. Okay, so there will be no room for lawlessness because they have been trained with structures in place. And this is the biggest problem that we have around here. So in that class, we actually teach parents how to create structures in their homes. In that class holds on Saturday, every Saturday at 7 p.m. It's usually a 1 hour, 20 minutes class. So you can actually join that class. You can join the one for next tomorrow if you want, okay? It will cost you just 1,000 naira to join that class. That's how simple it is. Just 1,000 naira and you're in, and we will help you, teach you how to create structures in your home. Okay, so after this class, you can actually type in the comments. Not after the class, you can type right in the comments, okay, that you want to join the class. Just say structure class, okay, and we'll send you the information to join that class. And then if you pay from now to tomorrow, right, in the next 24 hours, right, what's today? Today is already Thursday. Yes, if you pay from now to tomorrow, it's 1,000. But if you pay after that, say on Saturday morning, then it's going to be 1,500. It's usually 1,500. Okay, so that's it. So we build structures in that class. All right, so the first thing you want to do, as I said, is make sure that there is structure in your home. That's the first way to get your children to start reading. Yes, very important. All right, the next thing you want to do is you want to look at TV time. Oh no, the media, I mean, those gadgets at home, TV, PlayStation, and all of that, there is nothing that struggles with your child's ability to read as much as these appliances. I am not saying it is wrong, but you need to look at how much time your children dedicate into watching TV. If your children are people who actually watch TV from morning to evening on days that they are not in school, it will not work. It is more entertaining, right? There is to watch TV actually a passive process. It is not active in any way. Right? It's not active in any way. It's a passive process to watch TV. So you can just lie down and hang your feet and watch TV and just laugh. There is no work to be done. So it is likely, a child will likely, right? A child will likely want to watch TV, okay, than pick a book until the child has come to a point in their life. So you want to check the TV time that your children have. Right? Now, if you are one of those that have TV as a problem or TV time, you have long TV hours, then you need to do something about it. You need to do something to reduce their TV time. Structures will help this too. The media plan that you have in your home. So you create a media plan in your home. Create that media plan with your children. So if you come into that class, we'll teach you how to create a media plan, right? So, how to go about, putting a media plan in place, right? So you have that plan and you will create that plan with your children. When you create that plan with your children, then we know what is acceptable. We know when TV time is, when you can have TV, because there is this structure in place and we created it together. You and I, you and the child, you and the kids, the entire family. Then we are all bounded by this policy on media. So that's where you find out you can actually reduce TV time without taking it away completely, okay, since this has been the case. If your goal is to take it out completely during the week or whatever, you will get there gradually. But at least with some level of structure or a policy on ground, you're able to streamline it so that it doesn't affect other things that you want to achieve at home with the children because they are binging on television. All right, great. So that's the second thing. Now, the other one you want to do is you want to read. You want to model reading to your children. You want to model reading to your children. So one of the ways to do it, if you are one of those, if you are one of those that have not started reading already, or one of those that have the children, have that challenge with your children. Okay, some people will say, but I read already. I just don't know about this child. Yes, you read already, but that's you reading. The child has not picked that part or has not picked that aspect from you. So what do you want to do? You want to introduce it to the child, or when you want to invite the child intentionally, right, to notice that habit that you have. If the child has not picked it naturally from you, then you want to invite them to see you. You want to shine it in their face. So what do? You start reading and making them see you read. So pick a book and be in the bedroom and tell them and call out to your child, hey, Kamsi, can you give me a glass of water? I have this awesome book I'm reading right now. I can't even stand up from here. Oh my God. So you want to make it enticing. So you call out like that for them to give you a glass of water. You want to read and all of that, and then come back one day and announce to them that you were going to read a book together. Oh, so I saw this amazing book. You guys will love it. We're going to read it together. So I am going to get it tomorrow when I'm coming, and we'll start reading together. Now, in that case, because this is new, you're just introducing it to them. Don't create a full time where it's like, okay, everybody sit down, we're going to read. What do? While you're in the kitchen, if you're someone that has, you usually have them come into the kitchen with you. While you're in the kitchen together, you can say to one of them, go get the book, let's read. So you are cooking. Someone is dicing the onion and the other person is reading a chapter from the book or a page from the book. And then the person reads and you're listening. At some point, you stop and then you laugh and you talk about it, right? You could do that. You could do that while you are driving. You could do that while you are driving in the car with the kids. Get one of them to read while you're driving. You could do that also. All right. Now you can also create fun around it. You can decide, oh, we're going to have that book. We're going to have it on Saturday and we're going to have a book reading time. What would you guys like for that time? Would you like popcorn? Would you like a sandwich? Would you like da? Give them a heads up. I mean, fix the date together. Say 2 days before and say, okay, we're going to start our book on this day. What snack would you want for it and all of that? Then you can sit together for that. And make it short. It doesn't have to be long. For that 10 or 15 minutes, let them know we're going to read for about 10 minutes. We're going to have this snack. What do you want? Let them be a part of, the whole process. Let them choose what snack they would like. And all of that. Then you can sit down together and read. Now, when you start these things, parents, please, you need to be consistent. Like many other things, as with many other things, consistency has never failed. Consistency never fails. Good habits, bad habits, consistency never fails. So if you have a bad habit that you are consistent in, you will find that it will blow. You will become perfect at that negative habit or that bad habit. That's the reason why people who smoke or people who steal, that's the reason they can't just go cold turkey. Why? Because it is a habit that has been developed as a result of their consistency. They've built a pattern, over the years, and so it sticks. It is the same thing with good habits. If we become consistent and we build a pattern around this and we stay on there, we stay right there and continue, it will stick also. It's just that a lot of times as parents, we do not stay there. We are not consistent. And we are the same people that are consistent with many other things that we do. But when it comes with training a habit in our children, when it comes to putting our everything into training a habit in our children, we lose steam after a while. We need to go back and check. I mean, it is not enough that all we're doing is sending our children to good schools, making sure there is food and all. It's not enough. These things are not enough. There has to be more. There has to be much more put into parenting. We take parenting for granted too much. We feel like, by virtue of the fact that you can give birth to these children, by virtue of the fact that we're giving birth to children, the maternal or paternal instinct is automatic. Yes, what is automatic is your love for your child. Your love for your child just kicks in as soon as the child comes. As soon as the child comes, the instinct kicks in. You just fall in love. The child is beautiful. That's why we call every child cute. You're so cute. How dare you say a child is ugly? God forbid, there's no child that is ugly. Because as soon as we give birth to these children, the loving instinct just sets in. But the parenting instinct does not set in, parents. Parenting instinct doesn't set in. Breastfeeding a baby is not the same thing as training a habit in a child. Breastfeeding a baby is not the same thing as nurturing the child to be wholesome. Some of these things need to be learned. Some of these things need us to get information about them. Some of these things need us to practice them. Some of these things need us to be consistent about them for them to take root. If not, they will not take root. It is not the same thing as breastfeeding. It is not the same thing as buying food. It is not the same thing as paying school fees. It isn't the same thing. Attachment is completely different, right? And the energy that we put into it and how deliberate and intentional we are about this is what is going to set your child apart. And this is the truth, whether we like it or not. All right. Now, another thing you want to do is, another thing that I did in my home is I actually created a time where we stop everything and we read. Okay, after you pass that phase where you have introduced reading with some snack here and there, because the child, before now didn't just want to see reading. So this is the phase, that phase where you are buying popcorn and all of that is the bribing. You're actually bribing them. Okay, you're actually bribing them to buy into this new habits that you're trying to enforce. Okay, in fact, I've forgotten this writer. He actually said, I keep saying this, I should check it out again. He actually said, if you have to pay your children to read, pay them to read. That's how, if you have to pay them to read, pay them to read. So something like you get a book and you say, oh, if you finish the book in 1 week and you can write me a review, then you get 2,000 naira. If you have to do that, do it. Because at this stage, what we're trying to do, we're trying to cultivate the habit. We're trying to, you know, the way you go to a farm and you dig the ground and you put the seed. Right? That's what you're doing if your child is the one that doesn't love to read at all. What you're trying to do is you're trying to cultivate. So at the point you're cultivating, whatever you need to do to cultivate, do it. So then you now become consistent. Do you understand? So to cultivate, the point you are cultivating, if you have to pay small thing, pay. Right? If you have to give them small thing, small, dash, not like you just dash them money, like go and read, I will give you money. No, put money to the achievement. Set a goal and then tie it to some kind of money and all of that. But do this only at the cultivation stage. Now, after that cultivation stage, it's now up to you. You can't cultivate and then you go and rest and wait for them to build it on their own. No, you cultivate and then you create structures and then you use that structure to be consistent. So even if it means they're going to read for just 5 or 10 minutes every day, you're going to go ahead and do it consistently so that the habits can now take roots. Now, after the cultivation stage, you can now do what I'm talking about right now. So in my home, we stop and we read for 30 minutes. So from 8:30 to 9 o'clock, right? Sorry, from 8 o'clock to 8:30. What we do in my home is read. So even there are times I could be in a class and the children are jumping around and making noise and all of that. Let's say I'm having a live session like this. They're jumping around and all of that. I just look at the time. After a while, I don't hear their voices again. I just know what is happening. It's time to read. When I look at the time, I'll see it's probably 4 minutes past 8. So what has happened is it has taken root. So whether I'm there or not, whether I go out or not, whether I'm having a class or not, when it is 8 o'clock, the children stop everything that they're doing, they pick their books and they read for 30 minutes. And if I am not in a live class or something, or I'm not out, of course most times I'm in at that time. The only time that I'm not there is probably when I'm having a live class and it drags to like 8 o'clock. So if that is the case, I won't be there. But if I am not having it, then I will be with them with my own book. This is not the time where I read to my daughter. This is not the time where I read aloud. This is the time where everybody is reading a book to themselves. If the child is too young to read to themselves, let them picture read. Let the child use the picture to create a story. So the child is reading based on the pictures, and then you can actually say 5 minutes to the end of that, of your 30-minute session. You can say, oh, so come and tell me what you read. And the child can go like the first 3, 4, 5 pages, and you know that the child actually picture read. Picture read. Do you understand? So basically, we do that, and that is a strategy you might want to use. Pick a time where everybody reads a book, but before then, make sure that you have gone through the cultivation stage where you cultivate the habit of reading in your child. Very, very important. Okay, so what is the time? Yeah, I think we are about done. All right, so that's about it. So I just said, you want to look at creating structures. Oh my God, structures. I am so big on structures. I am so big on structures because that is what gets whatever it is you're doing in your home. That's what gets it rolling, right? So we talked about structures. We talked about looking at TV time, your media time in your home. You want to look at that and create a structure around it that can work or can accommodate reading and many other things that you want to achieve in your children, right? And then I talked about stopping everything. We talked about modeling. You want to model and let them see you read and all of that. So beautiful. So I said we have this session that holds on Saturday from 7 to about 8, where we teach parents how to create structures in their home. It is a practical session. It's a practical session where by the time we finish in that session, you can go and create your own structure in your home that you can begin to run with consistently. So to join that session is just 1,000 naira. Just say you want to join the structure, just say structure, and then we'll send you the account to pay for it. Now, if you pay for that session, right, it's just 1,000. If you pay for it, then you're going to get a back to school plan. Right? Our back to school plan is about ready right now. So tomorrow, yes, you're going to get that plan by tomorrow. So the back to school plan actually spells out what you need to set the pace for a good academic year, for a successful academic year for your child. What you need to do as a parent, right? And then it's actually, so you can go back and follow the steps. You can follow the things that you need to do. It bothers on your relationship with the teachers, what you need to do to prepare the children, how you need to go, how you need to follow up with the children for you to make sure that you have an effective school year. Now, that is free, but it only comes to you when you pay for this live session. All right. Now we have something that we're also putting together, right? It is actually a workbook. It's a planner and a workbook. What this does is it actually takes you through the whole school year. It tells you what to do with your children. Okay. It gives you a guide as to how to support your children from September to June. Right? Every day you have what you need to do with your children. And then it gives you a way to track what it is that you're doing your children. So you're able to journal your results, right? You're able to journal what you did, and all of that. It gives you short space for you to journal. It tells you what to do with the kids, and then you're able to journal. So you're able to track your progress throughout that year after you have actually set the plan, right? After you have set the plan that you have for the year, now you can actually go ahead and use that. Okay, so I'm not going to put a price to that yet. I'm going to tell you when it is ready. It's going to be ready in a few days, and I will have a session. But if you're interested, you can just put interested, right? Interested in the planner, right? In the planner/journal. So it's a journal and it's a planner. Just say you're interested so that when it's ready, we can contact you directly. Right? And then cultivate the reading habits in your children course actually is going to happen. We're launching that course this month. We're launching the course this month on the 3rd week. Okay, we don't have a fixed date, but it's on the 3rd week of October. Yeah, it's in the 3rd week of October, right? That course was the last time we launched it, that course was, I think, 15,000 naira the last time we launched it, but we're launching it again this time for just 5,500 naira for those who would actually register from now till next week, in the next 7 days. So from now to next week Thursday or next week Friday, for those who would register, they are going to have that course for 5,500. But after that, the course is going to be for 7,000 naira. So it is the cultivate a reading habit in your child, right? That course is a 1-month course. Like we will go through different strategies and we will hold your hand through that period. So it used to be for a whole month, but this time it's going to be for just 2 weeks, right? It's going to be for 2 weeks. For in those 2 weeks, okay, we'll leave it for 1 month. Okay, so for those 1 month, you're going to have access to me, and we're going to go through stage after stage. You tell me your challenges. I will keep giving you new strategies like every 2 or every 3 days that you try with your children until you find the strategy that works for you, right? As a family, until you find the strategies that work, and then we'll be with you so that you can be consistent for 1 whole month. Okay, so we'll be there as your accountability partner, giving you new strategies every day, giving you homework. We'll give you a recording book. We'll give you a login book where you will log. Okay, you will log, and then the child will also have a book where the child can log in and all of that. So we'll go through that for like a whole month. huge. The last time we took this course, it was amazing. We had a number of people who took the course at the time, and it was an amazing experience. All right, so you can pay for that course from now to next week Friday for 5,500 naira. So if you want to take that course, just write reading habits course, right? Just write that, and we would know, and we'll give you details, right, to join in that course. All right, people, so that's about it for today. All right, if you have any question, we'll be glad to take your questions. Let me see your comments. Okay, bring them on camera. What does that mean? Okay, bring them on camera. Okay, bring them on camera. What was Becky, you said I should bring them on camera. What should I bring on camera? All right, Lily, hello. Tonya, hi, darling. All right, so Geraldine is okay. Samchi, I see you. Blessing. Gimbia, hi. Every parent is the first teacher to their kids. Absolutely. Every parent is. All right. Every parent is their child's first teacher. All right. Great. Richard. Okay. Great. All right. So thank you. Nice discussion. Thank you, Becky. All right. So thank you very much for structure class. All right, great then. So thank you for everyone who made time to join this class. Oh, Vodina, hi. Goodness, hi. Hey, Lamso, hi, Joseph. All right, so thank you for everyone who made time to join the class. It was I had a nice time hanging out here with you. For those who will catch the replay, okay, if you want any of these offers, please just let us know. If you have comments or you have questions, also put them right there, and we will provide answers, right, to your questions. All right, so I'd like to take any question if there is any. I have scrolled and I can see any questions. So I take it that you understood all that we have talked about. All right, so thank you very, very much. I hope you got value this afternoon, and I hope you were charged to go and get your kids reading, because it is a must-have skill for the 21st century child. Please get those kids reading and get them loving to read. Let them begin to enjoy reading. I was out with my daughter yesterday. She went for a speech class, and when we were done, she turned and she saw her coach's stand of books, full of books, and she was like, "Mommy, look at all those books." She was that excited. She was like, "Hey, Mommy, look at all those books." And then the coach was like, "He wants one of them. You want to read one of them and bring it back tomorrow?" She was like, "Yes." And she took a copy of the book. Between the house and our home, driving from where she went for her coaching and getting to the house, she was done reading that book. So she was done reading the book. She got home in the evening and she said, "Mommy, I want to read the book again during the stop and read time." And she read it again during the stop and read time. That's how much she already enjoys reading. And these things, they don't, yes, for some kids, they come naturally, or, they start picking books to read on their own, like without being nudged. For others, it won't come that naturally. Even for the ones that it comes naturally, if we don't nudge them and help them, if we don't encourage them, right? If we don't encourage them and support them to continue, okay, and we don't provide the resources for them to continue reading, okay, they could actually lose it, along the way. So what we want to do, we want to be there encouraging and all of that. And for those who are not, we want to get them into loving the habit. Some people will say books. Yes, you can read online books. You can buy secondhand books. The secondhand books that you buy, just look for the vendors that sell secondhand books. Some of them sell books for as little as 200, 300, 400. Okay, if you're in Abuja, there is Tabita Tabitha Library. What does Dorcas call the hat, please? Tabitha, I would put it somewhere in the comments, right? There's also Adeze Abunto. She's here. Adeze is in the group. Adeze can actually send your books to you. Okay, you can check her out on Facebook, on Instagram, or you can just ask in the group, okay? And we'll hook you up with her. And there are many other people, there are many other stores around, okay, where you can get books. And if you ask questions, you will find secondhand books that go for like as little as 300 and 400 naira. And then if you are in a city where the children can go to the library, aren't you just lucky? Okay, aren't you just lucky? You can go with them to the library from time to time to read a book. Okay, you can do that. Michelle Obama's mom did that with her, right? Did that with her. I mean, it's an amazing thing. Okay, let the children see you involved. Our children get interested in the things that they know interest us a lot of the times. All right, my time here is spent. I gotta go. So thank you very much once more. Have a lovely, lovely evening. Bye.